So Trey, thank you for being here on SpotOn. Before the start of the season, you said that you were in the process of writing a book. Do you already have a title, and when will it be released?
Oh, see, the thing about writing in general is you'll get really into an idea and then kind of not like it. You kind of go back and forth. So that was I was writing that book last year in Poland while I was going through a lot of mental challenges in regards to it was a very tough season for me. Cold winters in Poland, small city, stuff like that. And so that book was mainly, it was on the inner games we play, as athletes and as performers, the process of talking to yourself and how to kind of optimize that. And so I got I want to say 30 or 25 pages into that, and then burnt out a little bit and went another direction in terms of I had to focus on coming home, spending time with my fiance and her family, and so it was kind of put to the back burner. So maybe if we have some days where we're not super busy, I'll start to get back into that. But it's at the moment, there's no release date, there's none of that. It was more so a way that I was able to process what I was going through last year.
Writing is not, I think, a common thing for athletes to do. Where did you find your idea of writing?
I guess for me, I've always been a pretty solid writer, but never done it on my own volition. I've never done it off my own choice. It's always been for school and stuff like that, and been very naturally good. But when I was done with college, I didn't know if I was going to play basketball. And so I started a blog and started a little bit of writing that way. And I found some sort of inner peace with that, because as you write, you can process ideas and a lot of experiences more fully. So I got started right when I didn't know what direction I was going to go with basketball. So that was the moment when I started writing for myself. And it's become a habit. When I'm really rolling in a good place, then it'll be almost every morning I'll write for 10 to 15 minutes. But as with anything, any habit can be inconsistent. But definitely that's when it started. When I didn't know if basketball was going to continue, if I was going to go another direction, it's when I started writing, and it's just carried through the years that I've been a pro basketball player. And I would say it definitely helps me on the court too. It's a creative outlet, and as you all know, basketball is a very creative sport. And if you lock yourself into the same brain patterns and don't expand yourself, then that's going to be visible on the court. You're going to be a bit of a robot. And so I'd say that writing definitely opens up those brain pathways for me. Definitely helps my performance on the court as well.
But writing is not the only creative part of you. You do vlogs. Was there someone that helped you find your creativity, like a teacher or your parents? Or
I think what comes with being a basketball player is sometimes you get pigeonholed into this is all you do. And I've always fight that. I've always been fighting that since I've played basketball, because I don't want to leave the earth and be known as just oh, he was good at basketball. I feel that'd be a loss, and that wouldn't be a successful life lived. But I don't know, my second year playing in Europe, my fiance started a vlog, and just the way that she went after it and started creating, giving life to some of the experiences we had, because that's what really spurred my creativeness when it comes to my vlog, because it was cool that other people could see some of the experiences that just me and her were having in Serbia that year. Because as you guys know, being very far away from home, it's hard for people to even grasp a story I tell them. So when there's a video or an image to it, then a lot of times some of the experiences that I have, I can share them better with family members, especially my parents, because my parents and sister, they're not getting the full grasp of what my life is. And you want to share that with them, and so they can get a better understanding of what I'm going through. So.
And how do you decide on the topics that you use in the vlog?
For me, it kind of fluctuates. For a while, like when I was in Poland, I wanted to show really like kind of the process of being a basketball player overseas, kind of like the travel, the day-to-day stuff like that. And then now, like since I started like a TikTok and kind of like try to like talk to younger basketball players, kind of like give back to the next generation of basketball players. And so the last couple of vlogs, I've been thinking kind of like how I can offer value to maybe a younger player, because I remember when I was like, 15, 16, 17, 18, I didn't really know how to think about basketball, how to think about life, how to process things. And even like I always had the dream of being a professional basketball player, but I didn't know what it entailed. I didn't know what the lifestyle was like. It was just like this random thought in my brain. And so now I try and kind of structure the topics around stuff so that I can kind of fill in some puzzle pieces so people can actually conceptualize sort of their dreams more. So that's kind of how it's changed over the last year and a half.
Your vlog is called A Typical Life. And I also read at another site that you want to inspire to live a life that is atypical, that is like taking risks.
Yeah.
Why does this way of life attract you?
I guess for me, kind of my basketball career started by taking a risk. In college, my senior year, I didn't have high production. Our team didn't win a lot of games. And so I had to start at very low level in Europe. And so in comparison to some job offers I had outside of basketball, it was a lot less financially secure, a lot less, like I was leaving my fiance, I was leaving my family, and I was taking a risk. And so I kind of wanted to embody that and like show that because I did this, I'm now able to live a life more fulfilling than it would have been if I would have stayed in my comfort zone. And I think the word atypical kind of embodies that. And it's definitely different too, like just different than a lot of people are used to seeing. And that's kind of why I chose that. So.
In nearly every video, you show a kind of ritual, preparing and drinking coffee. Are there any other rituals you have personally or as a player?
I guess the two main is every game day is I'm gonna make my coffee the same way every time. That's obvious. But then I'm also gonna write goals before each game. I kind of like write individualized goals for each kind of mentality goals, as well as like statistical goals that embody doing things the right way, so that I can kind of like look at the game afterwards and be like, I either, did what I was supposed to do, did what I told myself I needed to do, or I didn't. So it can give me a quick like yes or no on if I was successful or not in the things I could control. That's one of the rituals of writing goals. I watch my own highlight tapes before the game. Is a little like confidence boost type thing. Just kind of see yourself doing some good plays. And yeah, those are basically my three main checklist rituals, game day routines that I have to do. So.
I think right now your fiance and your family is here. But I think one of the downsides of being an athlete is that they are not around all the time. How do you personally cope with it and adjust to that situation?
Yeah, it's so my fiance, I call it my family because my fiance and my dog are my family at this point. So when I say fiance and family, I'm really just meaning fiance and my dog. But it's definitely difficult. It's tough being away from family throughout the year, because where I live on the West Coast in the States, in Seattle, a little outside of Seattle. So it's like a 9-hour time difference. So I think that's the hardest part, because I can't necessarily pick up the phone and call them like some people can, because I'll either be sleeping or they'll be sleeping or vice versa. The kind of ways to cope is a lot of voice memos, a lot of texts, and yeah, that's one kind of like good and bad thing about social media is sometimes you can feel connected even when you're not. sometimes they can give you like a false sense of connection. But seeing like my friends and stuff back home helps too. But I also have a really close knit group of friends. I got like 3 or 4 like really, really close friends, and we talk probably like every other day. FaceTiming, text, group message, all that stuff. So that's kind of one of the main ways that kind of I make it feel less lonely. But when my fiance and my dog are here, it's not lonely at all. So it's really nice.
If we have a downside, let us talk about things you gain being overseas. It's your first experience in Germany. What are the 2 or 3 things you got to know, liked, or learned here so far?
I think for me, Germany so far has been the best experience I've had in Europe in terms of, I don't know if this is Germany or this is the club, but everything's been very professional and people are very welcoming and very like, it feels like everyone here, it's more, I would say the word maybe is family oriented. It feels like everyone is trying to help you succeed. That's one thing I really liked, really noticed. 2, I think the pace of life is a little slower or a lot slower than the States. So everyone's calmed down a little bit and it's very nice and very relaxing. And you can also tell that by the difference in how people drink their coffee. In Germany, everyone's gonna sit down in the coffee shop. Really like, when you go to a coffee shop, a lot of people are sitting down just talking, just hanging out. Where in America, it's a very quick, grab your coffee and go. And so that's a lifestyle thing I like. One thing that's been tough, which was a surprise to me, is the driving. Because in Oldenburg, there's so many bikers. And also the lane, they're on like a 4-way stop, the car to your right gets the right of way is a little different than the States, and so it's been a weird thing. And then there's also like no right hand turn on red, which in Washington, like if you stop on a red light, you can just go right even when it's red. So the driving's been difficult, but it's been good. So
when thinking about you as a person and even more as a player, versatility comes to my mind. Is that something in regards of basketball that just comes from talent, or was there a coach that influenced you this way?
I think I was blessed to, it didn't feel like a blessing at the time, but when I was young, or I was like not very tall until I was like 16 or 17. So growing up, I was like basically a point guard and had to find other ways to kind of impact the game. And so as I grew taller, I was able to kind of like continue to do those things and then add other aspects. But also like I had an amazing high school coach, shout out Coach Lynch, gave me a lot of freedom when maybe I didn't get that earlier in my career or earlier in my basketball experience. And then when I got to college, I had another coach, Coach Dominguez, that trusted me to play point guard, even though I was kind of unorthodox, being a lot taller. So those kind of like fostered more versatility. And then as I became a pro basketball player at the pro level, you need to do a lot of things good to stay on the court. And that was kind of my whole mentality, was like I wanted to make sure there was no way that the coach would want to take me off the court. And if you just do enough of everything, it's kind of like if you leave the court, they're going to feel kind of a hole. And so that's kind of been my mindset when it comes to basketball, and that kind of just fosters versatility. So,
last question. I think we got a group of players who are creative. Not only you, but I think Max and TJ are in arts. You showed us in your last vlog that Bennett can play the piano. Are there any other hidden talents on our team that you know?
No, I mean, I think Bennett playing the piano took us all by surprise because we were just all kind of like walking back up to the room to like take a nap before the game. And we started listening to Bennett and everyone thought it was someone else. And I looked down there and he was just on the keys. So no, I mean, that's the only one those are like the three most obvious ones. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're done, Trey. And have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.